Some men run from powerful women. Caleb Vance saved one, and it destroyed everything he'd built to protect. She was a stranger on a dark road. He was a single father who should have kept driving. One choice. Two worlds colliding. A corporation, a workshop, and a little girl caught in the middle. This is the story of a man who thought love was the one risk he couldn't afford, until a woman powerful enough to ruin him proved she was also brave enough to fall. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. The wrench slipped. Caleb Vance caught it before it hit the oil pan, his knuckles scraping against the undercarriage of the Honda Accord suspended above him. He didn't curse, didn't flinch, just wiped the grease off his hand with a rag that had seen cleaner days and repositioned himself beneath the car. It was nearly midnight. The garage was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead and the occasional drip of something leaking from the Buick 2 bays over. Most mechanics didn't work this late. Most mechanics had someone waiting for them at home. Caleb had someone waiting too. But she was 7 years old and asleep by 8:30, and Mrs. Callahan from 3B didn't charge extra if he ran past 11. He tightened the last bolt, gave it a test shake, then rolled out from under the car. His back complained. 32 wasn't old, but the concrete floor didn't care. He stood, stretched, and checked his phone. 10:47 p.m. Good. He'd be home before midnight. The shop was small, 6 bays, all of them currently occupied. It sat in a part of the city that used to be industrial, back when factories still ran and people didn't mind the smell of exhaust mixing with whatever the meatpacking plant down the road was cooking. Now it was mostly auto repair shops, a couple of diners that served breakfast all day, and apartment buildings that hadn't been updated since the 70s. Caleb didn't mind. Rent was cheap, the work was steady, and nobody asked questions. He grabbed his jacket from the hook near the office, a worn leather thing that had belonged to someone else once, Sam. He didn't remember who. Didn't matter. He locked the front door, pocketed the keys, and headed toward the bus stop 3 blocks down. The street was empty. Streetlights flickered in that unreliable way that made shadows move when they shouldn't. A dog barked somewhere distant. A car alarm went off, then stopped. Caleb walked with his hands in his pockets, his breath fogging in the October air. He didn't think about much. Didn't let himself. Thinking led to remembering, and remembering led to places he'd spent the last 5 years trying to forget. He was halfway to the bus stop when he saw the car. It was pulled off to the side of the road, hazard lights blinking weakly. A black sedan, expensive looking, the kind of car that didn't belong in this neighborhood, let alone broken down on a street where the potholes had potholes. Caleb slowed. He should keep walking, probably. It wasn't his problem. People broke down all the time. Someone would call a tow truck, or AAA, or whoever you called when you drove a car that cost more than most people made in a year. He took another step. Then he saw her. She was standing beside the driver's side door, phone pressed to her ear, her other hand gripping the roof of the car like she was holding herself upright. She wore a long coat, black, tailored, and heels that made no sense for standing on a cracked sidewalk in the middle of the night. Her voice carried, sharp and clipped. I don't care what the wait time is. I need someone here now. Pause. No, I can't wait an hour and a half. Do you understand what? She stopped mid-sentence. Noticed him. Caleb froze. She was beautiful. Not in the soft, approachable way. In the kind of way that made you feel like you'd walked into a room you weren't supposed to be in. Dark hair pulled back tight. Features sharp enough to cut. Eyes that didn't ask. They assessed. Can I help you? She said. Not friendly, not rude, just factual. Caleb cleared his throat. Your car broke down. Observant. He almost smiled. Almost. You need a mechanic? She looked him up and down, took in the grease on his hands, the oil stain on his jeans, the jacket that had seen better decades. Are you one? Yeah. She studied him for another second, like she was running calculations. Then she lowered the phone. Fine. What's wrong with it? Caleb walked over, keeping a respectful distance. You try starting it? Obviously. What happened? It was running. Then it wasn't. So he bit back a response, knelt down beside the front tire, looked under the chassis, stood back up. Popped the hood. She hesitated, just for a second, then reached inside the car and pulled the lever. The hood released with a soft click. Caleb lifted it, propped it open, and leaned in. The engine was cold, clean, probably hadn't been touched by human hands since it rolled off the assembly line. He checked the battery terminals, checked the alternator belt, ran his hand along the wiring harness. "You hit something?" he asked. "No." "Run over anything?" "No." "Oh, when's the last time you had it serviced?" Pause. "I don't know. Someone else handles that." Of course they did. He pulled back, wiped his hands on his jeans, looked at her. "Your fuel pump's dead." She blinked. "What does that mean?" "Oh, means the thing that moves gas from your tank to your engine stopped working. You're not going anywhere tonight." Her jaw tightened, just barely. But he saw it. "Can you fix it?" "Not here. Not without parts." "Then what am I supposed to do?" Caleb glanced down the street, empty, no cabs, no ride shares idling nearby. "You got someone you can call?" "I tried. No one's available." "Friends?" Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes did. "No." The word landed heavier than it should have. Caleb looked at her, really looked, saw the exhaustion beneath the sharp edges. The way her shoulders were just a little too tight, the phone still gripped in her hand like a lifeline. He shouldn't. He should walk away. Get on the bus, go home. Wake up tomorrow and forget this ever happened. But he didn't. "Where do you need to go?" She hesitated. "Excuse me?" "I can give you a ride, if you need one." She stared at him, like he'd just suggested something insane. "You're offering me a ride." "Yeah, You don't know me." "You don't know me either." "Exactly." Caleb shrugged. "Then don't take it, but you're not getting a tow truck out here tonight, and standing on this street until morning isn't smart." She didn't respond right away, just looked at him, assessing again. "Why would you help me?" He met her eyes. "Because you need it." Silence. Then slowly she closed the hood of her car, locked the doors, turned back to him. "Where's your car?" "Don't have one." Her eyebrows lifted. "Then how?" "Bus stop's 3 blocks down. We can catch the last one into the city. You can get a cab from there." She looked at him like he'd just spoken another language. "You're suggesting I take the bus?" "Unless you've got a better idea." Another pause. Longer this time. Then she picked up her bag from the front seat, slung it over her shoulder, and stepped onto the sidewalk. "Lead the way." "God." They didn't talk much on the walk. Caleb kept a steady pace. She kept up, despite the heels. He noticed she didn't complain, didn't ask to slow down. Just followed, her coat pulled tight against the wind. The bus stop was exactly where he'd said it would be. A bench beneath a flickering streetlight, a faded route map behind scratched plexiglass, and a trash can overflowing with coffee cups and fast food wrappers. She looked at it like she'd stumbled onto another planet. Caleb checked his phone. "Bus should be here in 6 minutes." She nodded, sat down on the far edge of the bench, as far from the mystery stain in the middle as possible. He stayed standing. "You take this bus often?" she asked. "Every night." "Where do you live?" "North Side." She glanced at him. "That's 40 minutes from here." "Yeah." "You work late." "Yeah." Another pause. "What's your name?" she asked. He looked at her. Something about the way she asked, direct but not cold, made him answer. "Caleb." She extended a hand. "Victoria." He shook it. Her grip was firm, professional. "Thank you," she said. "For this." He nodded, didn't know what to say. The bus pulled up 2 minutes later, hissing to a stop in front of them. The doors opened. Caleb stepped on first, tapped his pass against the reader, turned back. Victoria was still on the sidewalk. "You coming? Would, eat what the She looked at the bus. At him. Then stepped on. The driver barely glanced at her. Caleb moved toward the back, found 2 empty seats near the window, sat down. Victoria sat beside him. The bus lurched forward. They rode in silence for a while. The city slid past outside, dark storefronts, closed diners, the occasional pedestrian walking with their head down. "You do this every night?" Victoria asked eventually. Yeah. Why not drive? Don't need to. That's not an answer. That's it. Caleb glanced at her. Don't have a car. You're a mechanic. Yeah. And you don't have a car. Nope. She looked like she wanted to ask why, but didn't. The bus hit a pothole. She grabbed the seat in front of her to steady herself. Caleb almost smiled. First time on a bus? In about 15 years. You're doing great. She shot him a look, but there was something almost like amusement in it. They rode another 10 minutes. The city got brighter, taller buildings, cleaner streets. The kind of place where the sidewalks didn't have cracks and the streetlights didn't flicker. Victoria pulled the cord. The bus slowed, stopped. She stood, looked down at him. Thank you, she said again. Caleb nodded. No problem. She hesitated, just for a second. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out a business card, and held it out. If you ever need anything, wapi asraichi masem. He looked at the card. Expensive paper, embossed lettering. Victoria Hale, Chief Executive Officer, Hale Industries. He took it, stared at it. You're serious? I don't joke. The bus driver called out. Lady, you getting off or what? Victoria stepped into the aisle, walked toward the front. Caleb watched her go. Just before she stepped off, she looked back. I mean it, she said. If you need anything. Then she was gone. The bus pulled away. Caleb sat there, staring at the card in his hand. He should have thrown it away. He didn't. Walked out. By the time Caleb got home, it was past midnight. The apartment was quiet, dark except for the nightlight in the hallway. He locked the door behind him, set his keys on the counter, and walked softly toward the second bedroom. The door was cracked open. Inside, his daughter was asleep, one arm flung over her stuffed rabbit, her hair a tangled mess across the pillow. Caleb stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching. She looked so small. He stepped inside, pulled the blanket up over her shoulders, and kissed her forehead. Night, Emmy, he whispered. She didn't stir. He stepped back out, closed the door halfway, and went to the kitchen. The business card was still in his pocket. He pulled it out, looked at it again. Victoria Hale, CEO. He didn't know what Hale Industries was, didn't care. But something about the way she'd looked at him before she got off the bus. He shook his head, slid the card into the drawer beneath the microwave, closed it. It didn't matter. He'd never see her again. Suck. He was wrong. 3 days later, Caleb was under a Chevy Silverado when Danny, the shop's day manager, knocked on the side of the truck. Hey, you got a visitor, Caleb rolled out, wiping his hands. Who? Danny grinned. You'll see. Caleb stood, grabbed a rag, and walked toward the front of the shop. She was standing near the office door, same coat, same sharp eyes, same presence that made the entire garage feel smaller. Victoria Hale. Caleb stopped. Danny whistled low. You know her? Apparently. Damn. Didn't know you had friends like that. I don't. Caleb walked over, stopped a few feet away. Can I help you? Victoria looked at him, then at the shop around them, took it all in. I wanted to thank you, she said, properly. You already did. I gave you a business card. That's not a thank you. It's fine. It's not. She reached into her bag, pulled out an envelope. This is... Caleb looked at it, didn't take it. I don't need your money. It's not charity. It's payment for services rendered. I didn't render anything. I gave you a ride. Exactly. He met her eyes. I'm not taking it. Victoria's jaw tightened, just barely. You're stubborn. Yeah. She slid the envelope back into her bag, looked at him for a long moment. Then let me buy you coffee. Caleb blinked. What? Coffee. You drink it, don't you? Yeah, but then let me buy you some, as a thank you. He stared at her. You don't have to do that. I want to. Why? She paused, like she was trying to figure that out herself. Because you helped me, she said finally. And people don't do that. Caleb didn't know what to say to that. I'm working, he said. When do you get off? 6. I'll meet you at the diner 2 blocks west, 6:30. I didn't say yes. You didn't say no. She turned, walked toward the door. Caleb just stood there. Danny appeared beside him, grinning like an idiot. Who the hell was that? Caleb looked at the card still sitting in his pocket. Victoria Hale, CEO. I have no idea. Got. He told himself he wasn't going. Told himself all afternoon. 6 o'clock came. He clocked out, washed his hands, changed into a cleaner shirt he kept in his locker, walked 2 blocks west. The diner was called Rosie's. It had been there since the 50s, and it looked like it. Red vinyl booths, black and white checkered floors, a jukebox in the corner that only played songs from before 1975. Victoria was already there. She sat in a booth near the window, her coat draped over the seat beside her. She wasn't looking at her phone, wasn't doing anything, just sitting, waiting. Caleb walked over. She looked up. You came. Apparently. She smiled, just a little. Sit. He did. A waitress appeared almost immediately, poured coffee without asking, left 2 menus. Victoria picked hers up, stared at it like it was written in another language. Do people actually eat this? She asked. Caleb glanced at the menu. Burgers, fries, meatloaf, pie. Yeah. When was the last time this menu was updated? Probably 1987. She set it down, looked at him. What do you recommend? Coffee's good. That's it? Pie's not bad. She flagged the waitress. Ordered 2 slices of apple pie. Caleb raised an eyebrow. What? Victoria said. Nothing. The pie came. They ate in silence for a minute. Then Victoria set her fork down. Can I ask you something? Sure, and why'd you help me? Caleb looked at her. I told you. You needed it. That's not a reason. It's the only one I've got. She studied him, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. You didn't ask for anything, she said. You didn't want money. Didn't want my number. Didn't even want to know my name. Didn't need to. Most people would have. Caleb shrugged. I'm not most people. Victoria leaned back, took a sip of her coffee. No, she said quietly. You're not. They sat there for a while, talked about nothing. The weather, the city, the fact that Rosie's hadn't changed its menu since the Reagan administration. It was easy. Easier than it should have been. Eventually, Victoria checked her watch. I should go. Caleb nodded. She stood, pulled on her coat. Thank you, she said. For coming. No problem. She hesitated, then reached into her bag again, pulled out another card. This one's personal, she said. My cell, in case you ever want coffee again. Caleb took it, looked at her. I've got a daughter, he said. Victoria blinked. Okay. I just thought you should know. She didn't look surprised, didn't look disappointed, just nodded. Okay. Then she left. Caleb sat there for a long time after she was gone, staring at the card, wondering what the hell he'd just done. He didn't call, didn't text, didn't even think about it. For 2 weeks he went back to his routine. Work, home, Emmy, repeat. But the card stayed in his wallet, and every time he saw it, he thought about the way Victoria had looked at him across that diner table, like he was something worth figuring out. It scared him, because the last time someone looked at him like that, it ended with him raising a 7-year-old alone, and he couldn't afford that risk again. But then Emmy got sick. Nothing serious, just a fever, a cough that wouldn't quit. The pediatrician said it was viral. Give it time, keep her hydrated, but time meant missing work, and missing work meant missing rent. Caleb sat in the apartment on a Thursday afternoon, Emmy asleep on the couch, her forehead warm against his hand. He looked at his phone, at the card tucked into the clear pocket of his wallet. He shouldn't. He knew he shouldn't, but he pulled it out anyway, stared at the number, took a breath, and dialed. She answered on the second ring. Caleb? Not a question, a statement. Hey, he said. Is everything okay? He almost laughed. Why would you assume it's not? Because you haven't called in 2 weeks, and now you are. Fair point. I need a favor, he said. Pause. What do you need? A job. Something I can do from home for a few days. My daughter's sick, and I can't leave her, but I can't afford to miss work either. Wolves. Silence on the other end. Then, "I'll handle it." Victoria, "I'll handle it. Give me 2 hours." She hung up. Caleb stared at his phone. 2 hours later, she called back. "You're good at fixing things, right?" "Yeah." "How good?" "Good enough." "Can you handle small engine repair, lawn equipment, generators, that kind of thing?" "Yeah, why?" "Well, because I just bought a landscaping company that's drowning in backlogged repair orders. I'll have everything delivered to your address. Fix what you can. Bill me hourly." Caleb sat up. "You what?" "You needed work you could do from home. Now you have it. You bought a company. Technically, I acquired its assets, but yes, in 2 hours. Yes. Why?" Pause. "Because you asked." Caleb didn't know what to say. "Caleb?" "Yeah?" "Fix the engines. Send me the invoice. We'll talk later." She hung up again. The equipment showed up the next morning. Caleb spent the next 3 days in his living room, surrounded by lawnmowers and weed whackers, while Emmy napped on the couch and watched cartoons in between. He fixed 17 machines, sent the invoice. Victoria paid it the same day, with a 20% tip and a text. "How's your daughter?" He stared at it for a long time, then typed back, "Better, thank you." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Good. Let me know if you need anything else." He should have left it there, but he didn't. "Coffee sometime?" The reply came instantly. "When?" And just like that, Caleb Vance, the man who swore he'd never let anyone close again, realized he'd already let her in. The coffee happened on a Saturday. Caleb hadn't planned it that way, but Emmy had woken up feeling better, and Mrs. Callahan had offered to take her to the park for a few hours. He'd said yes before he could think about it, and then suddenly he had no excuse not to show up. Victoria suggested a place downtown. Not Rosie's this time, somewhere called Meridian. All glass windows and exposed brick, the kind of cafe where a regular coffee cost what Caleb used to spend on lunch for a week. He showed up 5 minutes early, stood outside for a full minute debating whether to go in. She was already inside when he walked through the door, sitting at a table near the back, laptop open, fingers moving across the keyboard like she was in the middle of something that couldn't wait. She looked up when he approached, closed the laptop immediately. "Hey." "Hey," Caleb said. He sat down across from her. The chair was uncomfortable, too modern, all angles and no padding. A waiter appeared before Caleb could say anything. Young guy, probably in college, with a smile that looked rehearsed. "What can I get you?" Caleb glanced at the menu on the table, saw words like single origin and pour over and nitro cold brew. "Just coffee," he said. "We have a rotating selection of black coffee, regular." The waiter's smile faltered, just a little. "We don't really do—" "I'll have an Americano," Victoria cut in. "Make it 2. Deal." The waiter nodded and disappeared. Caleb looked at her. "What's an Americano?" "Espresso and water, close enough to what you wanted." Could have just said coffee. Not here. He almost smiled. The drinks came. Caleb took a sip. It wasn't bad. Stronger than he was used to, but not bad. Victoria watched him. "You hate it here." "I don't hate it. You look like you want to leave." Caleb set the cup down. "I look like that most places." She tilted her head, studying him again. "Why'd you agree to come?" "You asked." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got." Victoria leaned back in her chair, took a sip of her own drink. "Your daughter," she said. "How old is she?" "What's again?" 7. "What's her name?" "Emmy." "Short for Emily?" "Emma, but she hates it. Says it sounds like an old lady." Victoria smiled, just barely. "Smart kid." "Yes, Where's her mother?" The question landed like a stone. Caleb didn't answer right away, just stared at his coffee. Victoria must have seen something in his face, because she straightened. "I'm sorry. That's not—" "She's not around," Caleb said quietly. Silence. Victoria didn't push, didn't ask for details, just nodded. "Okay." They sat there for a minute. The cafe buzzed around them, people typing on laptops, a couple arguing in low voices near the window, someone's phone ringing and going unanswered. "What about you?" Caleb asked eventually. "What about me?" "You got family?" Victoria's expression didn't change, but something behind her eyes did. No. No family or no family you talk to? Both. Caleb nodded, didn't press. Boyfriend? Husband? No. Why not? She looked at him, really looked. Because I'm very good at my job, she said, and very bad at everything else. Caleb didn't know what to say to that. Victoria checked her watch, then closed her laptop and slid it into her bag. Walk with me. It wasn't a question. They left the cafe and walked south toward the river. The city was loud on a Saturday afternoon. Street performers on corners, vendors selling pretzels and roasted nuts, tourists taking pictures of buildings they'd forget about in a week. Victoria walked like she had somewhere to be. Fast. Purposeful. Caleb kept up. You always walk this fast? He asked. Yes. Why? Because standing still wastes time. You ever just stop? She glanced at him. No. Sounds exhausting. It is. They crossed an intersection, dodged a cab that ran the yellow light, kept walking. You ever think about slowing down? Caleb asked. Every day? But you don't. No. Why not? Victoria stopped, right there in the middle of the sidewalk. People flowed around them like water around a rock. She looked at him. Because if I stop, she said quietly, I'll have to think about what I'm doing, and I'm not sure I'll like the answer. Caleb held her gaze. You ever try? No, maybe you should. She didn't respond, just started walking again. They made it to the river, found a bench near the water, sat down. The view was nice. Caleb had to admit that. The skyline reflected in the water, boats drifting past, the bridge in the distance framing it all like a postcard. Victoria stared at the water. I bought that landscaping company because of you, she said. Caleb looked at her. I know. It was stupid. Probably. I don't do stupid things. A sigh. Everyone does stupid things. Not me. Caleb leaned back. Then why'd you do it? She didn't answer right away. Because you asked, she said finally. And no one asked me for anything real. What do they ask for? Money? Connections? Favors that benefit them? She paused. You asked because you needed to take care of your daughter. That's different. Caleb didn't know what to say. You didn't have to do it, he said. I know. So why did you? Victoria turned to look at him. Because I wanted to see what it felt like. What felt like? Helping someone who didn't expect anything from me. Caleb met her eyes, saw something raw there, something she wasn't trying to hide. How'd it feel? He asked. Good, she said quietly. Really good. They sat there for a while, watching the water, not talking. Eventually, Caleb's phone buzzed. He pulled it out. Text from Mrs. Callahan. Emmy's asking for you. We're heading back. He stood. I have to go. Victoria nodded, stood too. Thank you, she said. For today. I didn't do anything. You showed up. That's more than most people do. Caleb looked at her. At the woman who'd bought a company just to give him work, who walked too fast and never stopped and didn't know how to let anyone in. You want to meet her? He asked. Victoria blinked. What? Emmy, you want to meet her? She stopped, looked genuinely surprised. Are you sure? No, but I'm asking anyway. Both at Victoria's expression softened, just a little. I'd like that. Tomorrow, my place, lunch, nothing fancy? Okay. Caleb started to walk away, then stopped, turned back. Victoria? Yeah? You should stop every once in a while, see what happens. She didn't respond, but she didn't look away either. The next day, Victoria showed up at noon. Caleb heard the knock and opened the door to find her standing there in jeans and a sweater. No coat, no heels, hair down. She looked almost normal. Hey, she said. Hey. She held up a bag. I brought dessert. I didn't know what she liked, so I got 3 different kinds of cake. Caleb looked at the bag. It was from a bakery he'd never heard of. Probably cost more than his weekly grocery budget. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. He stepped aside, let her in. The apartment was small, living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. The furniture was mismatched. The couch had a stain on one cushion that wouldn't come out no matter how many times he scrubbed it. The TV was older than Emmy. Victoria looked around, didn't say anything. "Emmy!" Caleb called. "Come here." A door down the hall opened. Emmy appeared, still in her pajamas, hair sticking up in 6 different directions. She stopped when she saw Victoria. "Who's that?" Bye. "This is Victoria," Caleb said. "She's a friend." Emmy walked over, looked Victoria up and down. "You're pretty." Victoria blinked, then smiled, a real smile. "Thank you. Are you Dad's girlfriend?" "Emmy, it's okay," Victoria said. She crouched down to Emmy's level. "No, I'm just his friend." "Do you want to be his girlfriend?" "Emmy, that's enough." "Maybe," Victoria said. Caleb's brain short-circuited. Emmy grinned. "I knew it." Victoria stood, met Caleb's eyes. There was amusement there, and something else. "She's very direct," Victoria said. "Yeah, she gets that from... I don't know where she gets that from." Emmy grabbed Victoria's hand. "Do you want to see my room?" "I'd love to." And just like that, his 7-year-old daughter dragged a Fortune 500 CEO down the hallway to show her a collection of stuffed animals and a half-finished puzzle of a unicorn. Caleb stood there for a second, then went to the kitchen to start lunch. They ate grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup at the small table in the kitchen. Emmy talked nonstop. About school. About her best friend, Sarah, who moved away last month. About the stray cat that lived behind their building and how she'd named it Professor Whiskers, even though Dad said they couldn't keep it. Victoria listened. Actually listened. Asked questions. Laughed at Emmy's jokes. It was the strangest thing Caleb had ever seen. After lunch, they ate cake, all 3 kinds. Emmy declared the chocolate one the winner. Then Emmy wanted to play a board game. "I don't really know how to play board games," Victoria admitted. "It's easy," Emmy said. "I'll teach you." So they played. Some game involving a princess and a dragon and dice that didn't make any sense to Caleb even after 7 years of playing it. Victoria lost. Badly. Emmy won. Obviously. "You're not very good at this," Emmy said. "No," Victoria agreed. "I'm really not." "That's okay. Dad's not good either." "Hey," Caleb said. Emmy ignored him. "Do you want to play again?" "Absolutely." They played 3 more rounds. Victoria lost all of them. Around 4, Emmy started yawning. Caleb sent her to her room for quiet time, which was code for a nap she'd never admit she was taking. Victoria helped him clean up, stacked plates, wiped down the table. They worked in silence for a minute. Then Victoria spoke. "She's wonderful." Caleb looked at her. "Yeah, she is." "You're doing a good job. With her." "I'm trying. It shows." They finished cleaning, stood there in the kitchen. "Thank you," Caleb said, "for coming, for all of this. Thank you for inviting me. I wasn't sure you'd say yes. I wasn't sure you'd ask." Silence. Victoria looked at him, really looked. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why'd you invite me here? Really?" Caleb thought about it. About all the reasons he shouldn't have. About how letting someone into his life meant risking everything he'd built to protect Emmy. "Because I wanted to," he said. "That's it?" "Yeah." Victoria stepped closer, just a little. "I like you, Caleb." His heart did something complicated. "I like you too." "I don't know what I'm doing," she said. "I'm not good at this." "At what?" "This, people, relationships, any of it." "Neither am I." "You're better than you think." "So are you." She looked at him, her eyes searching his face for something. Then she leaned in, kissed him. It was brief, soft, over before Caleb's brain could catch up. She pulled back. "I should go," she said quietly. "Okay." She grabbed her bag, headed for the door, stopped with her hand on the knob. "Can I see you again?" Caleb's chest felt tight. "Yeah." "When?" "Whenever you want." She smiled, small, real. Okay. Then she left. Caleb stood there in the empty kitchen, staring at the door, wondering what the hell he'd just gotten himself into. The next 2 weeks were strange. Victoria started showing up, not every day, but enough that Emmy started asking when she was coming back. They'd have dinner, watch a movie, play that stupid board game that Victoria still couldn't win. She fit, somehow, in a way that shouldn't have worked, but did. Caleb tried not to think about it too hard. But then one night, after Emmy had gone to bed, Victoria stayed. They sat on the couch, some old movie playing on TV that neither of them were watching. I have a confession, Victoria said. Caleb looked at her. Yeah? I looked you up. He went still. What'd you find? Not much. You don't have social media. No criminal record. You've worked at the same shop for 5 years. Before that? She paused. Nothing. Like you didn't exist. Caleb didn't respond. Why is that? Victoria asked. Because I didn't. What does that mean? He looked at the TV, at the black and white figures moving across the screen. I wasn't always Caleb Vance, he said quietly. Victoria went very still. What were you? Someone else. Someone who made mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Caleb closed his eyes. The kind you don't come back from. Silence. He felt her hand on his. Caleb. He opened his eyes. She was looking at him. No judgment, no fear, just curiosity. I don't care who you were, she said. I care who you are. You don't know who I am? Then tell me. He wanted to, almost did. But then he thought about Emmy, about what it would mean if Victoria knew, if anyone knew. I can't, he said. Victoria's hand tightened on his. Okay. Just like that? Just like that. You're not going to push? No. Why not? She met his eyes. Because everyone has a past, Caleb, and everyone deserves a chance to leave it there. Something in his chest cracked. He leaned in, kissed her. This time it wasn't brief, wasn't soft. It was desperate, real. She kissed him back. They stayed like that for a long time. When they finally pulled apart, Victoria rested her forehead against his. I'm falling for you, she whispered. Caleb's heart stopped. Victoria, I know it's too fast, it's stupid, I don't care. You should. Why? Because I'm going to hurt you. She pulled back, looked at him. Maybe, but maybe you won't. You don't know that. No, but I'm willing to risk it. Caleb stared at her, at this woman who'd walked into his life and refused to leave. I don't deserve you, he said. That's not your decision to make. He almost smiled. You're stubborn. Yeah, I am. She kissed him again, slower this time. Stay, he said. I can't. I have a meeting at 6. It's Sunday. I know. Of course she did. She stood, grabbed her coat. I'll see you tomorrow? Yeah. She walked to the door, stopped. Caleb? Yeah? Whatever you're afraid of, I'm not going anywhere. Then she left. Caleb sat there on the couch, staring at the door, knowing she was wrong, knowing eventually she'd have to. The call came on a Thursday. Caleb was at the shop, elbow deep in a transmission, when Danny knocked on the side of the car. Phone. Caleb rolled out. Who is it? Didn't say. Sounded official. Caleb's stomach dropped. He walked to the office, picked up the phone. This is Caleb. Mr. Vance, this is Margaret Whitfield from Whitfield and Associates. I'm calling on behalf of Hale Industries regarding the property at 447 Industrial Boulevard. Caleb's blood went cold. What about it? Hale Industries has recently acquired the building and surrounding properties. We're conducting an assessment of current tenants and lease agreements. I'm calling to schedule a meeting to discuss next steps. Next steps for what? Lease renewal or termination, depending on the assessment. This shop has been here for 20 years. I understand, but under new ownership, certain decisions need to be made. We'd like to meet with you and your manager to discuss options. What options? Boys. I'm not at liberty to discuss details over the phone. Can we schedule a meeting? Caleb gripped the phone. When? Next Tuesday, 2 o'clock, Hale Industries headquarters. Fine. Excellent. I'll send confirmation via email. Have a good day, Mr. Vance. She hung up. Caleb stood there, staring at the phone. Hale Industries, Victoria's company. He walked out of the office. Found Danny. Who owns this building? Caleb asked. Danny shrugged. Some investment group, I think. Why? They just got bought out. By who? Caleb didn't answer. He went back to work. Tried to focus. Couldn't. That night he didn't call Victoria. The next day he didn't either. On Saturday, she showed up, knocked on his door at noon just like she had before. Caleb opened it. She smiled. Hey. Hey. You didn't call. I know. Her smile faded. Is everything okay? Can I ask you something? Sure. You buy any property this week? Victoria's expression changed, just slightly. Why? Just answer the question. She studied his face. Yes, an industrial block on the east side. Why? Caleb's jaw tightened. That's where I work. Victoria went very still. Caleb, when were you going to tell me? I didn't know you worked there. I swear I didn't. Bullshit. It's not bullshit. I acquired 6 properties this month. I don't memorize every tenant list. But you knew. Once you saw it, you had to know. Victoria didn't respond. When did you know? Caleb asked. Yesterday. And you didn't call. I was going to go. When? After you shut us down? We're not shutting you down. Us. That's not what your lawyer said. Victoria's eyes widened. What lawyer? Whitfield called Thursday. Said there's a meeting Tuesday to discuss lease renewal or termination. Her words. That's standard procedure. Don't do that. Do what? Talk to me like I'm stupid. Victoria flinched. I'm not. You knew. You knew what this would do and you didn't tell me. Because I'm trying to fix it. Fix what? The whole situation. The building is losing money. The previous owners let it fall apart. Half the tenants aren't paying rent. The other half are in violation of safety codes. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work without kicking us out. Yes. And if you can't? Silence. Caleb laughed. Bitter. Hollow. That's what I thought. Caleb, please. You should go. I'm not leaving. Yes, you are. He stepped back, started to close the door. Victoria put her hand on it, stopped him. Don't do this, she said. Do what? Push me away because you're scared. I'm not scared. Yes, you are. You're terrified. Because you're finally letting someone in, and you don't know how to handle it when it gets complicated. This isn't complicated. This is you choosing your business over people. That's not fair, isn't it? Victoria's eyes were bright, wet. I care about you, she said. I care about Emmy. I would never do anything to hurt either of you. Then stop the acquisition. I can't. Why not? Because it's not just my decision. I have a board, investors, people who expect returns. I can't just, then we're done. The words landed like a punch. Victoria stared at him. You don't mean that. Yeah, I do. Caleb, go, Victoria. She didn't move. Please, he said quietly. Just go. She stood there for another second, tears streaming down her face now. Then she turned and walked away. Caleb closed the door, leaned against it, and tried to breathe. In the hallway, Emmy's door opened. She stood there in her pajamas, staring at him. Dad? Yeah, baby? Is Victoria coming back? Caleb looked at his daughter, at her wide eyes and hopeful expression. I don't know, he said. Emmy's face crumpled. She turned, went back into her room, closed the door. Caleb slid down to the floor, put his head in his hands, and wondered if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. The weekend was the longest of Caleb's life. Emmy barely spoke to him. She wasn't angry, which would have been easier to handle. She was just sad, quiet. She ate her meals without complaining, went to bed on time, didn't ask to watch TV. It was worse than any tantrum. Sunday night, Caleb sat on the edge of her bed, trying to find words that wouldn't come. "You miss her," he said finally. Emmy nodded, didn't look at him. "I know you do. I'm sorry." "Why'd you make her leave?" "I didn't make her leave." "Yes, you did. I heard you." Caleb closed his eyes. "It's complicated." "You always say that." "Because it's true." Emmy finally looked at him. Her eyes were red. "She made you happy," she said. "She made us happy." "I know." "Then why?" "Because sometimes being happy isn't enough." Emmy stared at him like he'd said the dumbest thing she'd ever heard. Maybe he had. "That doesn't make any sense," she said. "No, it doesn't." She turned away, faced the wall. Caleb sat there for another minute, then kissed the top of her head and left. He didn't sleep that night. Monday morning, Danny pulled him aside before the first customer showed up. "Meeting's tomorrow," Danny said. "I know." "You going?" "Yeah." "You want me to come?" Caleb shook his head. "I'll handle it." Danny studied him. "You look like hell." "Thanks." "I'm serious. What's going on?" "Nothing." "Bullshit. You've been off all week." Caleb didn't respond. Danny sighed. "Look, man, I don't know what's happening, but whatever it is, we'll figure it out. This shop's been here 20 years. It'll be here 20 more. Caleb wished he could believe that. He worked through the day on autopilot. Changed oil, rotated tires, replaced brake pads. The kind of work his hands knew even when his brain was somewhere else. Around 3, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out. Text from a number he didn't recognize. "Mr. Vance, this is Margaret Whitfield, confirming your meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Hale Industries, 40th floor. Please bring any lease documentation you have." Caleb stared at the message, typed back a single word. "Fine." That night, after Emmy was asleep, he pulled out the lease agreement, read through it. The language was dense, full of legal terms he barely understood. But the gist was clear enough. Month-to-month lease. Either party could terminate with 30 days' notice. 30 days. He could lose everything in 30 days. He thought about calling Victoria, picked up his phone 3 times, put it down 3 times. What would he even say? Tuesday came too fast. Caleb left the shop at 1. Took the bus downtown, watched the city change outside the window as they moved from industrial blocks to glass towers. Hale Industries was on 5th Avenue. 70 stories of steel and glass that reflected the sky so perfectly it looked like the building wasn't even there. Caleb walked through the lobby. Marble floors, chandeliers that probably cost more than his car. Security guards in suits that fit better than anything Caleb owned. He gave his name to the woman at the desk. She made a call, handed him a visitor badge. 40th floor. Elevators are to your left. The elevator was glass. Caleb watched the ground fall away beneath him as he rose. His stomach dropped somewhere around the 20th floor. The doors opened. The 40th floor was all open space. White walls, modern furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the entire city. A woman in a gray suit approached him. 50s, sharp eyes, the kind of smile that didn't reach anywhere near warmth. "Mr. Vance, Margaret Whitfield, thank you for coming." She extended a hand. Caleb shook it. "This way, please." She led him down a hallway, past conference rooms with glass walls, past offices where people sat at desks that looked like they'd been designed by someone who'd never actually worked at a desk. They stopped at a door at the end of the hall. Margaret opened it. Inside was a conference room, long table, 12 chairs, windows on 2 sides. And Victoria. She stood at the far end of the table, talking to 2 men in suits. She looked up when the door opened. Her eyes met Caleb's. Something passed between them, something he couldn't name. Then she looked away. "Mr. Vance," Margaret said, "please have a seat." Caleb sat, across from Victoria. The table between them felt like a canyon. The 2 men sat on either side of her. One was older, gray hair, the kind of face that had seen every negotiation tactic ever invented. The other was younger, maybe 30, with glasses and a tablet he kept glancing at. Margaret sat beside Caleb. "Let's begin," she said. "Mr. Vance, You're here representing the auto repair shop located at 447 Industrial Boulevard, Unit C. Is that correct? Yeah. And you're aware that Hale Industries recently acquired the property? Yeah. We've conducted an assessment of the building and its current tenants. Our findings indicate significant structural issues, code violations, and financial losses. The previous ownership allowed the property to deteriorate to a point that makes continued operation challenging. Caleb's jaw tightened. What does that mean? The older man leaned forward. It means the building needs extensive repairs. Repairs that cost money. Money that needs to come from somewhere. So you're raising rent. Among other options? What other options? Margaret opened a folder, slid a document across the table. This is a proposal for lease restructuring. Under the new terms, your monthly rent would increase by 40%. Additionally, you'd be responsible for bringing your unit up to current safety codes within 90 days. Caleb stared at this document. 40%. Yes. I can't afford that. Then perhaps we can discuss alternative arrangements. Like what? The younger man spoke up. Buy out. We offer you a lump sum to vacate. You relocate. We redevelop. Relocate where? That would be up to you. Caleb looked at Victoria. She was staring at the table, hadn't said a word. Is this a joke? He said. Margaret frowned. I assure you, Mr. Vance, this is a serious... I'm not talking to you. He was still looking at Victoria. She finally met his eyes. Caleb, is this why you came into my life? To soften the blow before you took everything? The room went silent. The two men exchanged glances. Margaret cleared her throat. Mr. Vance, I don't think personal matters are... No, Victoria said quietly. Let him talk. Caleb stood. You said you cared. You said you'd never hurt us. Was any of that real, or was it just part of the plan? There was no plan, Victoria said. Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. They were gripping the edge of the table. I didn't know you worked there. I didn't know until last week. But you knew what would happen. You knew this meeting was coming, and you didn't warn me. I was trying to find another way. Did you? She didn't answer. Caleb laughed, bitter, empty. That's what I thought. He turned to leave. Wait, Victoria said. He stopped. Didn't turn around. I'm not signing off on this, she said. The older man's head snapped toward her. Excuse me? I said I'm not signing off on it. Victoria, we discussed this. I know what we discussed. Richard. And I'm telling you now, I'm not doing it. The board approved. I don't care what the board approved. I'm the CEO. And I'm not displacing 20 families and a dozen small businesses because some spreadsheet says it's profitable. Richard's face darkened. This isn't about profit. This is about fiduciary responsibility. To who? Shareholders who won't remember this deal in 6 months? Or to the people whose lives we're about to destroy? You're being emotional. Damn right I am. The younger man shifted uncomfortably. Margaret looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Richard stood. We'll discuss this privately. No, Victoria said. We'll discuss it now, in front of Mr. Vance, because he deserves to know what we're deciding about his life. Caleb turned around slowly. Victoria was standing now too, facing Richard across the table. These tenants, she said, have been there for years, some of them decades. They're not just numbers on a balance sheet. They're people. They have families, kids, lives that don't stop existing just because we want to build something newer and shinier. And what do you propose we do? Richard said. Eat the losses? Let the building continue to fall apart until it's condemned? No, we fix it. We bring it up to code. We invest in it. That's not financially viable. Then we make it viable. How? Victoria paused, glanced at Caleb, then back at Richard. We restructure the entire acquisition, not as a redevelopment project, as a community investment. We repair the building, we keep the tenants, we charge fair rent, and we take the hit on the margins. Richard stared at her. You've lost your mind. Maybe, but I'm still the CEO. For now. The words hung in the air like a threat. Victoria's expression didn't change. Is that a warning? It's a fact. The board won't support this. And without their support, you won't last another quarter. Then I guess we'll see. Richard grabbed his briefcase, looked at the younger man. We're done here. They left. Margaret stood, looked between Victoria and Caleb. I'll send you both updated documentation, she said quietly. Then she left too. The door closed. Caleb and Victoria stood on opposite sides of the table, alone. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Victoria sat down, put her head in her hands. I just ended my career, she said. Caleb didn't know what to say. Why'd you do it? He asked. She looked up. Her eyes were red. Because you were right. I was choosing business over people, over you, and I couldn't live with that. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Silence. Caleb walked around the table, sat down beside her. What happens now? He asked. I don't know. Richard will go to the board. They'll vote. Either they back me or they fire me. When? Soon. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tonight. And if they fire you? Victoria laughed. Hollow. Then I guess I'll finally know what it's like to stop. Caleb looked at her. At this woman who'd just thrown away everything she'd built. For him. For people she'd never met. I'm sorry. He said. For what? For what I said. At my apartment. About you not caring. You had every right to say it. No, I didn't. I was scared, and I took it out on you. Victoria reached for his hand, held it. I was scared too, she said. I still am. Of what? Of losing you. Of screwing this up. Of realizing I have no idea how to be with someone without destroying it. You're not destroying it, aren't I? Caleb squeezed her hand. No, you're fighting for it. That's different. She looked at him, really looked. I meant what I said before. I'm falling for you. Past tense. I've already fallen. Caleb's chest tightened. I don't know how to do this, he said. I don't know how to let someone in without worrying they'll leave. I'm not leaving. You say that now. I'm not leaving, Caleb. Not unless you tell me to. And even then, I'll probably fight you on it. He almost smiled. You're stubborn. So are you. They sat there, hands intertwined. What about Emmy, Victoria asked. What about her? She must hate me. She doesn't hate you. She's sad. She misses you. I miss her too. Caleb hesitated, then said the thing he'd been afraid to say since Saturday. She thinks you made us happy. Both of us. Victoria's breath caught. Did I? Caleb looked at her. Yeah, you did. Do I still? He leaned in, kissed her, soft, real. Yeah, he said against her lips. You do. She kissed him back. They stayed like that for a long time. When they finally pulled apart, Victoria checked her watch. I have to go. Conference call in 10 minutes. With the board? No, not yet, but soon. She stood, grabbed her bag, stopped at the door. Caleb? Yeah? Will you be there when it all falls apart? Yeah, I'll be there. She smiled, sad, but real. Okay. Then she left. Caleb sat there in the empty conference room, staring at the city outside the window. He'd come here expecting to lose everything. Instead, he'd watched someone risk everything for him. He pulled out his phone, texted Victoria. Thank you. Her reply came a minute later. For what? For choosing people, for choosing us. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I'll always choose you. Caleb stared at the message, then stood, headed for the elevator. He had to get home, had to tell Emmy, had to figure out what came next. The next 3 days were chaos. Word spread fast. Hale Industries' CEO refuses to approve redevelopment project. Board calls emergency meeting. Investors demand answers. Victoria didn't call, didn't text. Caleb tried not to worry. Failed. On Friday, Danny pulled him aside. You see the news? What news? Danny showed him his phone. Article from a business site Caleb had never heard of. Hale Industries CEO under fire. After controversial decision. Caleb skimmed it. Words like reckless, emotional, unfit to lead. His stomach turned. "This is because of me," he said. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He grabbed his phone, called Victoria. Voicemail. Tried again. Voicemail. Texted. "Are you okay?" No response. He tried 3 more times throughout the day. Nothing. That night, after Emmy was asleep, someone knocked on his door. Caleb opened it. Victoria stood there. She looked exhausted. Hair down, no makeup, wearing jeans and a t-shirt he'd never seen her in. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She stepped inside. He closed the door behind her. They stood there in the hallway. "I got fired," she said. Caleb's heart sank. "When?" "This afternoon, emergency board vote, unanimous." "Victoria, it's okay." "It's not okay. You lost your job because of me." "No. I lost my job because I made a choice I'd make again." "You can't mean that." She looked at him. "I spent 15 years building that company. 15 years putting business first, profit first, myself first. And you know what I have to show for it? Money I don't spend, a reputation I don't care about, and no one who gives a damn if I live or die. It's true. Before I met you, I didn't have anyone. No friends, no family, nothing real, just work. Just deals and meetings and decisions that made me richer and emptier every single day." She stepped closer. "You and Emmy are the first real thing I've had in years. Maybe ever. So no, I don't regret it. I don't regret choosing you." Caleb didn't know what to say. Victoria reached up, touched his face. "I'm terrified," she'd said. "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am without that company. But I want to figure it out. With you, if you'll let me." Caleb pulled her close, held her. "Yeah," he said. "I'll let you." She wrapped her arms around him, held on tight. They stood there in the hallway, just holding each other. "What are you going to do?" Caleb asked eventually. "I don't know. Find another job, I guess. Or start something new. Or maybe just stop. For a while. See what that feels like. You'd hate it. Probably. But maybe it's time I learned how." Caleb pulled back, looked at her. "Move in with us." Victoria blinked. "What?" "Move in. With me and Emmy. Just for a while. Until you figure things out." "Caleb, I can't." "Why not?" "Because it's too much, too fast." "So?" "So you'll get tired of me. You'll realize I'm a mess and you'll regret asking." "I already know you're a mess. I don't care." She stared at him. "You're serious?" "Yeah." "You want me to move in?" "Yeah." "With you and your 7-year-old daughter?" "Yeah." Victoria's eyes were wet again. "Why?" "Because Emmy misses you. Because I miss you when you're not here. Because you make us happy, and I'm tired of pretending that doesn't matter." She kissed him, hard, desperate. "Okay," she said. "Okay?" "Okay." Caleb smiled, actually smiled. "Emmy's going to lose her mind. In a good way? In the best way." Victoria laughed, soft, real. "What have I gotten myself into? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Together?" "Together." She kissed him again. And for the first time in years, Caleb felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. The next morning, Emmy woke up to find Victoria making pancakes in their kitchen. She stopped in the doorway, stared. "You're here," she said. Victoria turned, smiled. "Yeah, I'm here." "Are you staying?" Victoria glanced at Caleb. He nodded. "Yeah," Victoria said, "if that's okay with you." Emmy's face lit up. She ran across the kitchen, threw her arms around Victoria. "I knew it," she said. "I knew you'd come back." Victoria hugged her tight, looked at Caleb over Emmy's head. He mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." She mouthed back. "No, thank you." And just like that, 3 people who'd all been alone found something they didn't know they needed. A family. Imperfect, messy, real. But theirs. The first week was harder than any of them expected. Not because Victoria didn't fit. She did. That was the problem. She fit so well it scared Caleb. and he couldn't figure out why. She brought 2 suitcases and a laptop. That was it. Everything else she owned was either in storage or didn't matter anymore. She took the couch the first night, insisted on it, even though Caleb told her she could have his bed and he'd take the couch. "I'm not kicking you out of your own bed," she'd said. "You're not kicking me out. I'm offering. And I'm declining." Stubborn, still stubborn. By the 3rd night, she was in his bed anyway. Not because he'd convinced her, but because Emmy had crawled into the living room at 2 in the morning, found Victoria on the couch, and said, "You're supposed to sleep with Dad. That's what people do when they love each other." Victoria had looked at Caleb, standing in the hallway in his boxers and an old t-shirt, half asleep and completely unprepared for his daughter to just say things like that. "She's 7, Caleb had said. "She doesn't have a filter." "She's also right," Victoria had replied. So she moved into his room. And that first night, lying beside her in the dark, Caleb couldn't sleep. Not because it felt wrong, because it felt too right. Like something he could get used to, like something he could lose. Victoria must have sensed it because she rolled over and looked at him. "You're thinking too loud," she said. "Sorry." "What's going on?" "Nothing." "Caleb?" He stared at the ceiling. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop." "What shoe?" "The one where this falls apart, where you wake up and realize you made a mistake." Victoria propped herself up on one elbow. "I'm not going anywhere." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." "Victoria, sit." "Listen to me. I just blew up my entire life. I quit the only thing I've ever been good at. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment with a man I've known for 2 months, and his daughter who asks me at least once a day if we're getting married. If I was going to run, I would have done it already." But Caleb looked at her. "She asked you that?" 3 times yesterday." "What'd you say?" Victoria smiled, just a little. "I said maybe someday, if her dad ever gets his act together." Look, Caleb almost laughed. "I don't deserve you." "Stop saying that. It's true." "No, it's not. You just don't know how to let yourself be happy." She kissed him, soft, then pulled back. "Go to sleep, Caleb." "I'm trying. Try harder." She turned over, pressed her back against his chest. He wrapped his arm around her, and somehow, eventually, he slept. The next morning, Emmy decided Victoria needed to learn how to braid hair. "Dad's terrible at it," Emmy announced over breakfast. "He just makes knots." "I do not," Caleb said. "You do. Remember last week when you tried to do a French braid and I had to cut it out with scissors?" Caleb looked at Victoria. "That was one time." Victoria was trying not to laugh. "I'll give it a shot." So after breakfast, Emmy sat on the couch with Victoria behind her, attempting something that looked way more complicated than it had any right to be. Caleb watched from the kitchen, drying dishes that didn't need to be dried, just to have something to do. "You're doing it wrong," Emmy said. "I'm following the instructions you gave me. No, you have to cross it over, then under, then grab a new piece." "That's what I'm doing." "No, you're going under first." Victoria sighed, started over. Caleb smiled, couldn't help it. This was his life now. A CEO who didn't know how to braid hair, trying to figure it out because his daughter asked her to. A daughter who bossed around adults like she'd been doing it her whole life. And him, standing in a kitchen that was too small, in an apartment that was too crowded, feeling something he hadn't felt in 5 years. Content. It scared the hell out of him. By the second week, they'd fallen into a rhythm. Victoria woke up early, always early. Caleb would find her in the kitchen at 6, coffee already made, laptop open, working on something she wouldn't talk about. "What are you doing?" he'd asked once. "Research." "For what?" "Something." That's not an answer. She'd looked at him over the rim of her coffee cup. "I know." He didn't push. Figured she'd tell him when she was ready. Emmy loved having Victoria around. Loved it in a way that made Caleb's chest tight every time he saw them together. They'd sit on the couch and watch movies, or Victoria would help with homework, or they'd cook dinner while Caleb was still at work. One night he came home to find the 2 of them covered in flour, the kitchen looking like a bomb had gone off, and something burning in the oven. "What happened?" he asked. Emmy grinned. "We made cookies." "Did you?" Victoria pulled a tray out of the oven. The cookies were black, completely black. We forgot to set a timer, she admitted. I can see that. They're still good, Emmy said. Caleb looked at the charcoal discs on the tray. Sure they are. Try one, Victoria said. She was smiling, actually smiling. Caleb picked one up, took a bite. It tasted like burnt regret. Delicious, he lied. Emmy laughed. Victoria laughed. And Caleb stood there chewing something that might have once been food, thinking that this was the best his life had been in a long time. But then the third week hit, and reality came knocking. Victoria got a call from her former assistant. Caleb only heard her side of the conversation, but it was enough. No, I'm not coming back. Pause. I don't care what Richard said. Pause. Tell him to handle it himself. He wanted me gone. I'm gone. She hung up, stared at her phone. Caleb walked over. You okay? Fine. That didn't sound fine. She set the phone down. The company's hemorrhaging investors. 3 board members resigned. Stock dropped 15%. Because of what you did? Because of what I didn't do. They finalized the redevelopment project without me. Tenants are getting eviction notices. Caleb went cold. When? End of the month. That's 2 weeks. I know. He grabbed his phone, started scrolling. What are you doing? Victoria asked. Calling Danny. We need to figure out... Caleb. What? She took the phone from his hand, set it on the counter. You can't fight this. The hell I can't. They have lawyers, money, resources. You have a month-to-month lease and no legal standing. So I'm just supposed to give up? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? Victoria looked at him, really looked. I'm saying let me handle it. How? I don't know yet, but I will. Caleb wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she couldn't fix this, that she'd already given up enough. But the look in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't asking, she was telling. Okay, he said. Okay? Yeah, okay. She kissed him, quick, then grabbed her laptop. Where are you going? He asked. To make some calls. She disappeared into the bedroom, closed the door. Caleb stood there in the kitchen, feeling useless. Emmy appeared beside him. Is Victoria mad? No, baby. She's just working. On what? Trying to help some people? People like you? Yeah, people like me. Emmy nodded, then looked up at him. She's going to fix it, she said, like it was a fact. Like there was no other possibility. Caleb wished he had that kind of faith. Victoria spent the next 3 days on the phone. She barely slept, barely ate. Caleb would find her at 2 a.m, still on her laptop, staring at spreadsheets and legal documents. You need to sleep, he'd say. I will. Later. Victoria. I'm close. I just need a little more time. He'd sit beside her, watch her work, not understanding half of what she was doing, but understanding that it mattered. On the 4th day, she finally came out of the bedroom looking like she'd won something. I did it, she said. Caleb looked up from the couch. Did what? Found a way to save the building. He stood. How? She set her laptop on the table, pulled up a document. I can't stop the evictions, but I can buy the building. Caleb stared at her. What? I still have money, a lot of it. I liquidated some investments, called in a few favors, and put together an offer. If they accept, I own the building. And if I own it, I control what happens to the tenants. You're going to buy the building? Yes. With your own money? Yes. Why? Victoria looked at him like he'd asked the dumbest question in the world. Because it's the right thing to do. That's not a reason to spend millions of dollars. It is for me. Caleb didn't know what to say. Victoria closed the laptop, walked over to him. I spent 15 years making money, building empires, crushing competition. And you know what? I was good at it. Really good. But it didn't mean anything. It was just numbers on a screen. She took his hand. This means something. Keeping those families in their homes, keeping your shop open. That's real. That matters. So yeah, I'm going to spend millions of dollars. Because for the first time in my life, I'm doing something that actually makes a difference. Caleb pulled her close, held her. You're insane, he said. Probably. And I love you for it. The words were out before he could stop them. Victoria went still. Caleb's heart stopped. You what? She said. He pulled back, looked at her. I love you, he said again. Slower this time, meaning it. Victoria's eyes were wet. Say it again. I love you. She kissed him, hard, desperate, like she'd been waiting to hear those words her entire life. When she pulled back, she was crying. I love you too, she said. I love you so much it scares me. Me too. Yeah? Yeah. They stood there, holding each other, not talking. Then Emmy's voice came from the hallway. Are you guys getting married now? They both turned. Emmy stood in her doorway, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. Emmy, go back to bed, Caleb said. But are you? Victoria laughed. Actual, real laughter. Not tonight, kid, she said. But someday? Victoria looked at Caleb. He looked back. Yeah, he said. Someday. Emmy squealed. Actually squealed. Then disappeared back into her room. Victoria shook her head. Your daughter is something else. Tell me about it. You mean that? She asked. The someday thing? Caleb nodded. Yeah, I mean it. Even though I'm a mess? Especially because you're a mess. She kissed him again. Okay, she said. Okay. Okay. The offer went through a week later. Victoria bought the building for less than Hale Industries had paid for it because the company was desperate to offload a bad investment. She restructured the leases, lowered the rent for tenants who couldn't afford the increase, started repairs on the building with contractors who didn't cut corners. Danny couldn't believe it when Caleb told him. She bought the whole building? Yeah. Why? Because she could. Danny laughed. Man, you better marry that woman. Working on it. You serious? Caleb shrugged. Maybe. Danny grinned. About damn time you let someone in. Yeah, well, she didn't give me much choice. The good ones never do. That night, Caleb came home to find Victoria and Emmy on the couch, watching some animated movie about talking animals. Emmy was curled up against Victoria's side, half asleep. Victoria looked up when he walked in. Hey, she said quietly. Hey, it's he. He sat down on the other side of Emmy. The three of them squished together on a couch meant for two. It was perfect. Emmy fell asleep 10 minutes later. Caleb carried her to bed, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. When he came back out, Victoria was standing by the window, looking out at the city. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just thinking. About what? Well, about how different my life is now. 3 months ago, I was running a billion-dollar company, living in a penthouse, working 80 hours a week, and I was miserable. She turned to look at him. Now I'm unemployed, living in a one-bedroom apartment, spending my savings on a building that'll probably never turn a profit, and I've never been happier. Caleb walked over, wrapped his arms around her from behind. You're not unemployed, he said. What am I then? A landlord, property manager, whatever you want to call it. Victoria laughed. I went from CEO to landlord. My mother would be horrified. Is she still alive? I have no idea. The way she said it made Caleb's chest ache. You want to talk about it? He asked. Not really. Okay. They stood there, watching the city lights. Caleb? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For letting me stay. For letting me be part of this. For not giving up on me when I gave you every reason to. He kissed the side of her head. Thank you for not giving up on me. Never. Even when I'm difficult? Especially when you're difficult. She smiled. I love you. I love you too. They stood there for a while longer, just holding each other. Outside, the city kept moving. People kept living their lives. The world kept turning. But inside that small apartment, 3 people who'd all been broken in different ways had found something whole. It wasn't perfect. It was messy, complicated, real. But it was theirs, and that was enough. The following week, Victoria had a meeting with the tenants. She rented out the community room at the building, set up chairs, brought coffee and donuts. Caleb came with her, even though she said he didn't have to. I want to, he'd said. It might get heated. I can handle it. So they went together. 23 people showed up. Shop owners, families, people who'd lived in that building for years, some for decades, all of them scared they were about to lose everything. Victoria stood at the front of the room. Caleb sat in the back, watching. I know you don't know me, Victoria started, and I know you have no reason to trust me, but I want to be very clear about something. I didn't buy this building to make money. I bought it to keep you here. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Murmurs ran through the... A woman in her 60s raised her hand. Why would you do that? Because it's the right thing to do, sir, Victoria said. And because someone I care about would have lost his livelihood if I didn't. She glanced at Caleb. A few people followed her gaze. Recognition dawned on some of their faces. Caleb works at the auto shop, someone said. Unit C8. That's right, Victoria said. And when I found out this building was being targeted for redevelopment, I couldn't let that happen. Not to him, not to any of you. A man in a work uniform stood up. What's the catch? No catch. I'm restructuring the leases. Rent will be based on what you can afford, not what maximizes profit. The building will be brought up to code. Repairs will be made, and no one gets evicted unless they stop paying rent or violate their lease. You're serious, the woman said. Completely. Why should we believe you? Victoria pulled out a stack of papers. Because I had my lawyer draft new lease agreements. You can review them. Have your own lawyers review them. If you're not comfortable with the terms, we'll negotiate. But I'm not here to screw you over. I'm here to make this work. The room went quiet. Then someone started clapping. Then someone else. Then everyone. Victoria looked surprised, like she hadn't expected that. Caleb stood up, walked to the front of the room. She means it, he said. I know because she gave up everything to do this. Her job, her reputation, everything. She didn't have to, but she did, because she's the real deal. Victoria looked at him. Something passed between them. The meeting went another hour. People asked questions. Victoria answered them. Honestly, directly. No corporate speak, no dodging. By the end, 21 of the 23 tenants signed new leases on the spot. The other 2 wanted time to think. Victoria told them to take all the time they needed. When it was over, people came up to shake her hand, thank her. A few even hugged her. Victoria looked completely out of her element, but she handled it. On the way home, she was quiet. You okay? Caleb asked. Yeah, just processing. Processing what? The fact that people actually liked what I did. At Hale, every decision I made had someone calling it wrong. Too aggressive, too risky, not profitable enough. But today, people were grateful because you helped them. I know, it's just weird. Good weird? She smiled. Yeah, good weird. They walked a few more blocks. You meant what you said, Victoria said, about me giving up everything. Yeah. I didn't give up everything. I gave up a job. That's not the same thing. Yeah. It was your whole life. No, it was what I did, not who I was. There's a difference. Caleb thought about that. Who are you now? He asked. Victoria stopped walking, looked at him. I'm someone who's still figuring it out, she said, but I'm doing it with you and Emmy, and that makes it easier. Good. Yeah, it is. They started walking again. You know what's funny? Victoria said. What? I used to think success meant being untouchable, having power, control, being someone people feared. And now? Now I think success means having people you care about, and caring about people, and doing things that matter even if they're small. Caleb reached for her hand. That's not small, he said. Feels small compared to running a company. It's not. Victoria looked at him. You really believe that? Yeah, I do. She squeezed his hand. Then maybe I will too. Yeah. That night, after Emmy was asleep, Victoria and Caleb lay in bed, talking about nothing and everything. What do you want? Victoria asked. Long term. For your life. Caleb thought about it. I want Emmy to be happy. I want to keep working. I want to wake up every day and not worry about losing everything. That's it? That's enough. What about us? He looked at her. What about us? Do you see us long term? Yeah, I do. Even with all my baggage. Even with it, say. I have a lot of baggage, Caleb. So do I. Mine's worse. Doubt it. She turned on her side, faced him. I've never been married. Never been in a relationship longer than 6 months. I don't know how to compromise. I work too much. I'm terrible at feelings. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to screw this up eventually. Caleb touched her face. You're also brave and kind. And you love my daughter almost as much as I do. You gave up everything to do the right thing. And you make me believe that maybe I'm not as broken as I think I am. Victoria's eyes filled. You're not broken. Neither are you. She kissed him. I want this to work, she said. I want us to work. Then we will. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. How? Because we're both stubborn as hell, and we're not giving up. Victoria laughed through her tears. No, we're not. They held each other in the dark, and for the first time in both of their lives, the future didn't feel like something to be afraid of. It felt like something to build, together. 3 months later, Caleb stood in the office of what used to be just Danny's shop and was now something else entirely. Victoria had insisted on the changes. Not big ones, not flashy, but real. New equipment, better lighting. A waiting area that didn't look like it hadn't been updated since 1987. She'd hired 2 more mechanics, both young guys who knew their way around an engine and didn't ask questions about why the new landlord seemed to spend half her time in Unit C. Danny had been skeptical at first. We don't need charity, he'd said when Victoria first proposed the upgrades. It's not charity, she'd replied. It's an investment. You do good work. You should have good tools. And what do you get out of it? Victoria had looked at Caleb, then back at Danny. I get to see something succeed because someone gave it a chance, not because it was profitable, because it mattered. Danny had agreed after that. Now the shop ran smoother than it ever had. More customers, better reputation. Word spread that the place on Industrial Boulevard actually cared about doing the job right, not just doing it fast. Caleb was in the middle of an oil change when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him. Yeah? Is this Caleb Vance? The voice was unfamiliar. Male. Professional. Who's asking? Yish se. My name is Howard Chen. I'm a recruitment consultant for Bennett Automotive Group. We're looking for someone to run our new technical training program, and your name came up. Caleb set down his wrench. How'd you get my name? A recommendation. From someone who said you were exactly what we're looking for. Who? I'm not at liberty to say, but they spoke very highly of your skills and your character. We'd like to meet with you, discuss the position. I already have a job. I understand, but this would be a significant step up. Management position, better pay, benefits. The chance to train the next generation of mechanics instead of just turning wrenches. Caleb's chest tightened. I'll think about it. That's all we ask. I'll email you the details. Take your time. The man hung up. Caleb stood there, phone in hand, trying to process what just happened. Danny walked over. Everything okay? Yeah, just, someone offered me a job. What kind of job? Training position, management. Danny's eyebrows went up. You gonna take it? I don't know. You should. What? I'm serious. You're too good to be under cars your whole life. You should be teaching people. Leading. I like being under cars. I know you do, but that doesn't mean it's all you should be doing. Caleb didn't respond. Danny clapped him on the shoulder. Think about it. Really think about it. That night, Caleb told Victoria. They were making dinner. Or rather, Victoria was attempting to make dinner while Caleb corrected her technique. She'd gotten better at cooking over the past few months, but she still had a tendency to use way too much salt. Someone offered me a job today, he said. Victoria looked up from the cutting board. What kind of job? Training program for a big automotive group, management position. She set down the knife. Are you going to take it? I don't know. Why not? Because I don't know if I want to. That's not an answer. Caleb leaned against the counter. It's more money, better benefits. But it means leaving the shop, leaving Danny, starting over. Starting over isn't always bad. I know, but what? He looked at her. Did you recommend me? Victoria didn't even blink. Yes. Why? Because you're wasting your talent under cars when you could be shaping careers. Because you're one of the best mechanics I've ever seen, and people should learn from you. Because you deserve more than you think you do. You should have asked me first. Would you have said yes? No. Exactly. That's why I didn't ask. Caleb shook his head. You're unbelievable. I know. She picked up the knife again, started chopping. But I'm right. You don't know that. Yes, I do. You're scared. You've been scared of anything that looks like moving forward because you think forward means leaving something behind. But it doesn't. It just means growing. Caleb didn't have an answer for that. Emmy wandered into the kitchen. What are we talking about? Dad got offered a new job, Victoria said. Emmy's eyes lit up. Really? Are you going to take it? I don't know yet. Why not? Because it's complicated. Everything's complicated when you're a grown-up, Emmy said. She grabbed an apple from the counter. But Victoria says you should do things that scare you, because that's how you know they matter. She took a bite of the apple and walked back to her room. Caleb looked at Victoria. You've been coaching her. Victoria smiled. Maybe a little. She's 7, and she's smarter than both of us combined. Caleb couldn't argue with that. He thought about the offer all week, read through the details Howard Chen sent. The position was real. The pay was nearly double what he made now. The benefits included health insurance that would actually cover Emmy's checkups without him having to worry about copays. But it also meant wearing a tie, sitting in meetings, managing people instead of fixing things. He wasn't sure he was that guy. On Friday, Victoria came home with news of her own. I got a call from Richard today, she said. Caleb looked up from the couch. Your old board member? Yeah. Sit. What do you want? Victoria sat down beside him. He wants me to consult for Hale Industries, part-time, advising on acquisitions and restructuring. Are you serious? Completely. Apparently, the company's been struggling since I left. 3 failed deals, stock still down. Investors getting nervous. He said they need someone who actually knows how to turn a bad situation into something functional. What'd you say? I said I'd think about it. You want to go back? Not full-time, but consulting. That could work. I'd have control over which projects I take. Set my own hours. Still have time for this. She gestured around the apartment. For us. Caleb took her hand. You miss it. Parts of it. I miss solving problems, building things, making decisions that actually matter. You're doing that here, with the building, with the tenants. I know, but I can do both. You sure? She looked at him. Are you asking if I'm going to turn back into the person I was before? The one who chose work over everything? Yeah. No, I'm not. Because I know what that cost me now. I know what's actually important. And what's that? She leaned in, kissed him. You, Emmy. This life we're building. Everything else is just details. Caleb kissed her back. Okay, he said. Then do it. You sure? Yeah, if it makes you happy, do it. Victoria smiled. Only if you take that training position. That's not fair? Yes, it is. We both deserve to grow, to do work that matters, to be more than we were. Caleb stared at her. When'd you get so wise? When I met a stubborn mechanic who taught me that people matter more than profit. He pulled her close, held her. I love you, he said. I love you too. They sat there for a while, just holding each other. Then Emmy appeared in the hallway. Are you guys getting married yet? Victoria laughed. Not yet, kid. Why not? Because your dad hasn't asked. Emmy turned to Caleb. Well, ask her. Emmy, she's right here. She loves you. You love her. Just ask. Caleb looked at Victoria. She was smiling, trying not to laugh. You heard the kid, she said. Caleb's heart was pounding. He stood up, pulled Victoria to her feet. I don't have a ring, he said. I don't care. And this is the least romantic proposal in history. I don't care about that either. He took her hands. Victoria Hale, will you marry me? She didn't even hesitate. Yes. Emmy screamed. Actually screamed. then launched herself at both of them, wrapping her arms around their legs. I knew it. I knew you'd say yes. Victoria picked her up, hugged her tight. Of course I said yes. How could I not? Caleb wrapped his arms around both of them. His family. Imperfect, messy, real. But his. They got married 3 months later. Not a big wedding, not expensive, just them, Danny, a few people from the building, and a judge who asked if they were sure they wanted to do this in a courthouse. Very sure, Victoria had said. Emmy was the flower girl. She took the job seriously. Practiced walking slowly for a week beforehand. When it was time, she walked down the aisle, scattering petals like her life depended on it, then stood beside Victoria, holding her hand, grinning like she'd orchestrated the whole thing. Which, in a way, she had. The judge asked the questions. Caleb and Victoria answered. When it came time for the vows, Caleb went first. I'm not good with words, he said. But I'm good at showing up, at doing the work, at being there when it matters. And I promise I'll show up for you every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Victoria's eyes were wet. I'm not good at feelings, she said, but I'm good at fighting for what I want. And I want this. I want you. I want us. And I promise I'll fight for it. For you. For Emmy. For this family we're building. Every single day. The judge declared them married. Caleb kissed his wife. Emmy cheered, and just like that, everything changed. And nothing changed. Because they were already a family. The wedding just made it official. The reception was at Rosie's Diner, the same place they'd had coffee that first time. Danny gave a speech that was equal parts embarrassing and touching. I've known Caleb for 5 years, he said, and in that time, I've never seen him let anyone in. Not really. He kept everyone at arm's length, did his job, went home, took care of his kid, and that was it. He looked at Victoria. Then you showed up, and you didn't just get past his walls. You knocked them down, made him believe he deserved something more than just surviving. And now look at him. Married. Happy. About to start a job that'll actually use his brain instead of just his hands. Danny raised his glass. To Victoria, for seeing what the rest of us missed. And to Caleb, for finally letting himself be seen. Everyone drank. Victoria squeezed Caleb's hand under the table. He's right, you know, she said. About what? About you deserving more. So do you. I know. That's why I married you. Caleb kissed her. Across the table, Emmy made a face. Gross. Everyone laughed. The night went late. Too late for a school night, but nobody cared. When they finally got home, Emmy was asleep in Caleb's arms. He carried her to bed, tucked her in. Victoria stood in the doorway, watching. She's going to be insufferable now, Victoria said. You know that, right? She got her way. We're married. She's going to think she can orchestrate everything. She probably can. Fair point. Caleb walked over, put his arms around his wife. His wife. Still felt strange to think that. Thank you, he said. For what? For not giving up, even when I gave you every reason to. Victoria looked up at him. You never gave me a reason to give up. You gave me reasons to stay, to fight, to believe that maybe I could be more than just a CEO who didn't know how to be a person. You were always a person. Not a very good one. You're good now. She smiled. I'm trying. That's all any of us can do. They stood there in the hallway, in the apartment that used to feel too small but now felt exactly right. What do you think happens next? Victoria asked. I don't know. We live our lives. We work. We raise Emmy. We figure it out as we go. That's not much of a plan. It's the only plan I've got. Victoria laughed. Soft, real. Good enough for me. They went to bed, and for the first time in either of their lives, the future wasn't something to fear. It was something to build. Together. 6 months after the wedding, Caleb stood in front of a classroom full of young mechanics. 23 of them. All eager. All ready to learn. He'd been terrified the first day. Didn't know if he could do it. Didn't know if he was the right person. But Victoria had believed in him. Emmy had believed in him. And eventually, he started to believe in himself. Most people think being a good mechanic is about knowing engines, he said. It's not. It's about knowing people. About understanding that when someone brings you their car, they're trusting you with their safety. their livelihood. Sometimes their only way to get to work, to take their kids to school, to live their lives. He walked between the rows of students. You can be the best mechanic in the world, know every engine inside and out, but if you don't care about the person on the other side of the counter, you're just a parts replacer, not a mechanic. One of the students raised a hand. How do you care about everyone? Some people are difficult. Caleb smiled. Yeah, they are. But they're difficult because they're scared or frustrated, or they've been screwed over before. Your job isn't to judge them, it's to help them. To be honest, to do good work, to give them one less thing to worry about. The students nodded. Caleb kept teaching, and for the first time in his life, he felt like he was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. Victoria was in a meeting when her phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, Emmy's school. Her stomach dropped. She excused herself, stepped into the hallway. This is Victoria Vance. Mrs. Vance, this is Principal Morrison. Emmy's fine, but there was an incident today. Can you come pick her up? What kind of incident? She got into a fight. Victoria's eyebrows shot up. A fight? With another student. No one's hurt, but we need to discuss it. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up, texted Caleb. Emmy got into a fight at school. I'm picking her up. His reply came immediately. Is she okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally, we'll find out. I'll meet you at home. Victoria grabbed her bag, left the meeting, drove to the school. Emmy was sitting in the principal's office when Victoria arrived, arms crossed, face defiant. Principal Morrison gestured to a chair. Mrs. Vance, thank you for coming. What happened? Emmy punched another student. A boy in her class gave him a bloody nose. Victoria looked at Emmy. Is that true? Yes. Emmy nodded. Didn't look sorry. Why would she? Victoria asked. Said something mean. About you? No, about you. Victoria went still. What did he say? He said, you're not my real mom, and that you only married Dad because you felt sorry for us. Victoria's chest tightened. She looked at Principal Morrison. And what did you do when he said that? We spoke to the student about appropriate language. Before or after Emmy hit him? After. Victoria stood. Then we're done here. Mrs. Vance, no. My daughter defended herself and her family against someone who was cruel to her. If you punish her for that, then you're telling her that standing up for herself is wrong, and I won't be part of that. She held out her hand to Emmy. Come on, kid. We're leaving. Emmy took her hand. They walked out together. In the car, Emmy finally spoke. Am I in trouble? Victoria looked at her in the rearview mirror. Yes. But you stood up for me. Ita. I did. Because you were right to be angry. But punching someone is still wrong. Even when they're mean? Even then, there are better ways to handle it. Like what? Victoria thought about it. Like telling them they're wrong. Like walking away. Like telling a teacher who'll actually do something about it. That doesn't feel as good as punching them. Victoria almost laughed. No, it doesn't. But it's still what you should do. Emmy was quiet for a minute. Then she said, he was wrong, about you. I know. You're my real mom. I don't care what anyone says. Victoria had to pull over. She turned around in her seat, looked at Emmy. You mean that? Yeah, you're here. You take care of me. You love me. That makes you my mom. Victoria's eyes filled. She unbuckled her seatbelt, climbed into the back seat, pulled Emmy into a hug. I love you so much, she said. I love you too, Mom. Mom. She'd called her mom. Victoria held her tighter and realized that this was what she'd been searching for her entire life. Not power, not control, not success. This. Love, family, belonging, the messy, imperfect, beautiful reality of being someone's person. When Caleb got home that night, he found Victoria and Emmy on the couch, watching a movie. Everything okay? He asked. Better than okay, Victoria said. She told him what happened. When she got to the part about Emmy calling her mom, Caleb's face did something complicated. She called you mom, he said. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Victoria looked at Emmy. who'd fallen asleep against her shoulder. Like I finally understand what I've been working toward my whole life. And it wasn't building empires, it was building this. Caleb sat down beside them, put his arm around Victoria. You're really good at this, you know? At what? Being a mom, being a wife, being part of this family. I'm still figuring it out. So am I, but we're doing it together. Yeah, we are. They sat there, the three of them. A family that shouldn't have worked on paper. A single father with a past he wouldn't talk about. A former CEO who didn't know how to stop working. A 7-year-old girl who thought she could fix everything by being honest. But somehow, it worked. Not because it was perfect, because it was real. A year after the wedding, Victoria stood on the balcony of a new home. Not huge, not fancy. Just a 3-bedroom house in a neighborhood where kids played in the streets and neighbors actually knew each other's names. The building she owned was thriving, all units occupied, tenants happy, repairs ongoing but manageable. Her consulting work with Hale Industries had turned into something bigger. She'd started her own firm, small, focused on helping struggling companies restructure without destroying lives in the process. It was good work, important work, but it wasn't her whole life anymore. Caleb's training program had expanded. He was overseeing 3 locations now, teaching dozens of students, making a difference. And Emmy was thriving. 3rd grade, honor roll, still bossy, still convinced she knew better than every adult in her life. Still theirs. Caleb came out onto the balcony, handed Victoria a cup of coffee. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How different everything is. Good different? The best different." She leaned against him. "You know what I realized?" "What?" "I spent my whole life trying to be untouchable, trying to build walls so high that nothing could hurt me, and all it did was make me lonely." She looked up at him. "Then you came along, Shishin, and you didn't tear down the walls, you just kept showing up, kept being there, until I finally realized that being vulnerable wasn't weakness, it was strength." Caleb kissed the top of her head. "You taught me the same thing. I thought keeping everyone out was protecting Emmy, but it was just protecting me from getting hurt again, from risking everything. And now I know that the risk is worth it, that love is worth it, that you're worth it." Victoria turned in his arms, looked at him. "We're pretty good together, huh?" "Yeah, we are. Even though we're both disasters? Especially because we're both disasters." She kissed him. Inside, Emmy called out, "Are you guys being gross again?" They pulled apart, laughing. "Yeah, kid," Caleb called back. "We are." "Well, stop it and come inside. I need help with my homework." Victoria shook her head. "She's going to be a CEO someday, or president, or both." They went inside, and as Caleb helped Emmy with her math homework and Victoria started dinner, and the 3 of them existed in the ordinary chaos of a Tuesday evening, Victoria realized something. This was it. This was success. Not the billions she'd made, not the empire she'd built, not the reputation she'd earned. This, a family sitting around a table, a daughter asking for help, a husband who looked at her like she was the best thing that ever happened to him. Love that was chosen, every single day, not because it was easy, because it mattered. And in the end, that was the only thing that ever really did. People spend their whole lives chasing things that look like success. Money, power, recognition. They build walls. They keep people out. They convince themselves that being untouchable means being strong. But real strength isn't about being untouchable. It's about letting yourself be touched, letting yourself be vulnerable, letting yourself love and be loved, even when it's terrifying. Real success isn't measured in dollars or deals or empires built. It's measured in the people who show up for you, the family you build, the moments that matter. It's choosing someone every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's about being brave enough to change, to admit when you're wrong, to risk everything for what's real. Caleb learned that love wasn't the one risk he couldn't afford. It was the only risk worth taking. Victoria learned that being powerful meant nothing if you had no one to share it with. And Emmy learned that sometimes the best families aren't the ones you're born into. They're the ones you choose. Together, they learned that broken people can build beautiful things, that scars don't make you weak, that starting over isn't giving up, it's growing, and that the bravest thing you can ever do is let yourself be loved. Not because you're perfect, but because you're worth it, exactly as you are.